This is Bandage Banter, episode 2, When Time Disappears. This is a space for slowing conversations down long enough to notice what usually gets rushed past. For those who don't know, my name is Sam. I am a registered nurse. I've worked bedside and I've worked across multiple systems. And for a long time now, I've been paying attention to parts of healthcare that don't show up cleanly on paper. The moments that feel heavy, even when everything technically went fine. If you've ever left a shift or an appointment, or even just walked out of a hospital room with the feeling that something important just slipped by, you're not imagining it. Today, we're talking about time. When people say that healthcare feels rushed, they're rarely talking about speed. I know that sounds completely contradicting, but give me some time here. They're talking about disappearance. Speed is obvious. You see it, you can measure it, you can point directly at it. However, disappearance, it's quieter. It doesn't announce itself. It rarely, or it doesn't, arrive all at once. And honestly, by the time that you notice it, you've kind of already adjusted to it. Time does not vanish suddenly. It thins. Care still happens. The tasks still get done. And people show up and they move forward. But there are small changes when there's less room, less margin, less space for things that don't quite fit neatly into a schedule or a template, checkbox, radio button. Most people feel this before they can explain it. They leave with a thought they don't quite trust yet, like, that just didn't quite feel right. It's not dramatic, it's not catastrophic, it's just off. And I guess the uncomfortable part is that nothing obvious went wrong. When care feels off, we usually just reach for individual explanations. I don't think they managed their time well. Someone missed something. Someone obviously wasn't paying attention. Those explanations are familiar. They give that discomfort somewhere to land. If the problem is a person, it feels containable because you have something abstract or objectively that you can pinpoint it on. But here's the explanation kind of starts to break down. Care can feel rushed even when everyone involved is skilled. Even when people are experienced. Even when they are paying attention. Even when they are working past what's reasonable. In fact, some of the most strained environments are held together by the most capable people. That's what makes this whole idea honestly disorienting. Because the effort's there. The intention is there. But that feeling does not go away. So let's kind of break this down and name what's actually happening underneath that feeling. It is compression. Compression isn't about doing less work. It's about fitting the same work, or honestly increasing it especially the responsibility, into less usable time. Not less time on the clock, less time that can absorb uncertainty, less time that can stretch when something unexpected happens, less time that allows for thinking instead of reacting. Compression starts long before anyone walks into the room. Schedules are full, expectations are already set, metrics already exist, the time is already spoken for. So, time doesn't disappear during care. It disappears around it. Nothing obvious in meaning, but nothing has room. Compression, it does not look dramatic. It honestly doesn't even look chaotic. Most of the time, it is competence under strain. And I think a lot of us healthcare workers know this very well. Despite how comfortable and knowledgeable you are, you still feel like you can't get it all done. It looks like conversations that just are a little too fast. Questions that form, but they don't quite surface. And silences that feel unstable, so they're filled. It looks like decisions that aren't wrong, but they are narrower than they should be. Not reckless, not careless, just constrained. And like I said before, the care, it still happens, but it just happens inside tighter boundaries. And it's complex because these boundaries, they aren't written down. They're not announced. They aren't visible to the people inside of them, but they are felt. It's one of those things, for example, like with clinicians, it kind of for them feels like a constant forward pull, the sense that something stopping is going to cost something else. Patients, they feel them as hesitation. I should ask this, but I don't want to take too much of their time. And of course, families also feel this. And it's for them, I feel like it's kind of like them watching just something hover and then it just quickly passes. And you can't point exactly to the moment that time went missing, but we just all know that something important didn't get fit in. And I want to make this concrete because compression rarely shows up during emergencies. It shows up in ordinary moments. And I guess let me give you kind of like a story where this might really all come together and make sense. I know as a nurse, as a CNA, anybody working bedside, heck, doctors, their pagers, just think back to like a shift that your Cisco or pager, it just kept going off. It wasn't like a back-to-back constant, but it was just steady enough to where you never fully felt relaxed enough to make your next decision. So every call made sense. They weren't bothersome. They were a question or a clarifying need, even some reassurance calls. And every time I answered, I did it with no obligation. Like I wanted to answer out of genuine care. But as I'm on the phone, while I'm listening, there's always like this other awareness sitting in my body. Like the time is still moving. And while I'm answering this question, there's that something else is waiting for me. Someone might need my support, or might not even get to ask a question because I'm on the phone. Because, most of the time when you're on the phone, you either have people who will talk to you regardless of you being on the phone, or they just don't talk to you at all because they're like, oh, I'm sorry. So what I'm trying to say is, even while I was being present, I was still measuring that concept of time. Like, oh my gosh, how long has this call been? Is this appropriate? What else is waiting for me? What do I need to do now to get ahead after I get off this phone call? And that calculation wasn't cruel. It was learned, because being a nurse, you try to think 10 steps ahead because you want to prepare for those things. But the system honestly quietly teaches you that time is something you're always reallocating. Your shifts are constant interruptions, and you got to know how to make your next priority a priority, even when you care, even when you want to stay. So you answer the question and you do your best, and at the same time you feel that subtle pull to move on to the next thing that you have circling in your brain. The call ends and nothing goes wrong, but that tension, like, it doesn't leave your body. Your body truly keeps count. And because the care didn't quite feel whole now, it's kind of divided, because you wanted to be present on the phone, but at the same time, it's like a safety mechanism that you also hear everything that's going on around you, so you know if there's a bigger priority that you need to take at that second. And this is not a personal failure. This is what happens when time is treated as a managed resource instead of a human need. So this is just what compression does. And when that time tightens, your judgment narrows, because you don't have the time to think. You can't make more of 5 minutes. 5 minutes is 5 minutes. Not suddenly, not dramatically, gradually. Attention contracts. Decisions get made faster. Context gets thinner. And the things that don't fit easily, like emotion, uncertainty, nuance, they're all the first to fall away. Most of the time, nothing visibly breaks, and care continues on as always. And because of that, the system sees that as a success. Oh, we worked bare minimum skeleton crew, but somehow we had no falls, we had no sentinel events, no near misses. They can do this. Throughput continues. Metrics are met. The days move forward. But something shifted. Judgment has narrowed, and narrow judgment carries weight. That weight has to go somewhere. Can you guess where? People carry it. People carry it privately. And people will replay moments. I should have stayed longer. I should have asked that one question that I completely forgot and remembered at the last moment, but I didn't want to take any more of their time. If only I would have slowed down, maybe I would have saw the trend. Patients replay appointments. Clinicians, believe it or not, replay shifts. And families replay conversations. Responsibility keeps expanding while authority does not. The pressure has nowhere obvious to go. And because nothing technically failed, the strain becomes invisible. It doesn't show up in reports. It shows up in people as exhaustion, as self-doubt, as the quiet sense of falling short without being able to explain why. And that's another layer that makes compression hard to talk about, because nothing clearly breaks. There's no single moment where care stops. It just becomes thinner. And time is one of the hardest things to notice once it's gone. You can measure errors, you can measure volume, you can measure throughput, but you can't measure absence in this sense, because in order to measure something like that, you have to have documentation. And you can't chart the question that wasn't asked, the pause that never stabilized, the thought that formed and then disappeared. So the experience stays vague. And vague experiences, they get eternalized. Naming compression is not about blame. It's about accuracy. It's about being honest about how care actually feels inside these systems. Effort alone does not restore lost time. In fact, most people are not failing. People, they're adapting. And this is the hard realization of this all, is that adaptation has a cost. Most problems in healthcare don't start with mistakes. They start with compression. In the next episode, we are going to talk about where time actually goes and why no single person controls it. But for now, I want to leave you with this. If something has felt off after a shift, after an appointment, or even after a hospital stay, and you couldn't quite explain why, that does not mean that you missed something. It means the time was already taken long before you arrived. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Bandage Banter, and I truly love you guys, and again, thank you for your time. Toodles. Bye.